Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Anne Casdia. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. We here at Healthy Lifestyle, the team here, always talks about lifting each other up with encouragement and positivity. And today on our show, you will meet one of the most encouraging and positive women I have met in a very long time, Kim Marie Branch-Pettid. She's the CEO and owner of LeTip International. It's a networking group that is established all across the nation. And welcome to the show, Kim.
Thanks, Lori Anne. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, sorry I shortened your name, Kim Marie, I should say, because I'm Lori Anne. I'm so happy to have you on and very honored to have you on. Full disclosure, I am a LeTip member at the Port Jefferson branch here, or chapter, we say, here on Long Island. And it has proven to be one of the best networking experiences that I've had. It's just so exciting. So why don't you tell our listeners more about what LeTip is?
Well, LeTip is your sales force, Lori Anne. Most entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, a small business of any kind, they usually don't have the wherewithal or the money to go out and hire a lot of salespeople. They start out small. They can't grow because they're in a conundrum. It's just them. They can't close to go out and find business. They have to be in the office, whatever it might be. So what LeTip provides for them is an actual sales force by word of mouth. You go in and there's only one category of each business that's accepted. You learn what those categories are and what they mean. Then that sales force goes out and tells other people about you, so they bring you actual warm business. It is the best part of marketing that you can have for a company, because we know that word-of-mouth referrals are the best by far. And what really helps you is that you become a better public speaker. We actually put dollars in your pocket. There's loyalty to all the members. You become a referral source for your clientele. And the most important thing is your feeling of helping someone else when you belong. So to me, that's what LeTip is. We meet for an hour and a half once a week. We exchange warm leads. We give what we call commercials so that people can learn about us. And every week we have a speaker that is only from the chapter. We don't allow outside speakers to come in, so we're always highlighting a member and their business in front of the other members for education.
Yeah, that definitely sums it all up. I know that in our LeTip chapter, one of the largest in the country, I have 80 free salespeople. That's how I look at it. And they go out, and when they hear of opportunities, they think of me, and they'll send business in my direction and vice versa. And I utilize a lot of the services within the chapter. So chapter loyalty is definitely a big thing. It's funny when the person who brought me in, because you have to be sponsored to be brought in. You can't just walk into one of these meetings. You need to know somebody who's a LeTip member, and they can sponsor you in. And when I was brought in, it was hard to explain, but such an enthusiasm and a welcoming and interest in what each of us do. So it's always wonderful when new people join the group, because it's something else that we can have at our fingertips. It makes something that I've done all my career and my life is putting people together. So it's so much fun to be able to have other people and resources. When you speak to your current clients, you become a resource to them, and that's a benefit to everybody involved, right, Ken Marie?
It is. That's what an actual meeting does for you, but we do so much more with because of corporate. I'm very proud of this because I'm so passionate about small business, because we teach new members how to do it, because we teach our board members how to become board members and hold their jobs. We're building community leaders. Everybody needs leaders today. We look at the leadership in our federal government, and we all wonder what we're doing. So by teaching others how to step up and lead in a small setting like this, we find that there are people who are reaching out and becoming senators and assemblymen, or for their local state and then for the national. It's important that we learn how to have leadership. And what does leadership mean to the health of our economy, to the health of our nation, to the health of our families even? So for me, it's very empowering to know that we can teach other people how to step up into a leadership position.
Oh, without a doubt. Matter of fact, one of the tools you recently had, one of the first conventions, I think they called them power events on the East Coast. And I know that you were teaching us this, giving us this tool, providing us this tool and teaching us about really how to size up people that you're dealing with. And I'd love you to speak more about that, because that is such an incredible tool and gift that you gave every single member in the chamber.
Well, thanks. I will tell you that it's called BANK. It stands for BANK, Blueprint, Action, Nurture, and Knowledge. What's important about it is we're all different. You have a chapter of 60, 70 people, 80, whatever. I'm sorry, I didn't even recall what you said.
It's
but it's
80 people, chapter. Yeah.
So when you get up and you talk in front of your chapter members, some of them are giving you business, but not all. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So we want all of them to work for you. For me, if you were to code yourself, and I cracked my code as you did,
yes,
I am an action, nurture, blueprint, knowledge. So what that means is, as an action person, I make quick decisions. I see the big picture. I'm excitable and excited, and I'm out doing lots of things, but I do it all in the name of people. That's the nurturing. Because I love people, it comes naturally to me. And I always thought I was a nurturer first, but I was forced into it from a young age. That's why I wanted to be a doctor. But after putting 17-year-olds in body bags in school, I said, this is not for me.
Yikes.
So I realized that I was an action person, but it comes because of the nurturing. I want to help everybody. But when I get up in a chapter meeting and I talk like that, I've totally turned off blueprints who don't like change and knowledge people who have to have a ton of information to make, a decision. I don't. 3 minutes, I'm done. I'm ready. I'm either on or I'm off. I either bought into it or I didn't. So it's a very different realization of when you're presenting. When I learned how to present in a knowledge format or a blueprint format or a total nurturing format, now those people became raving fans of mine because they felt that I was like-minded, that I represented their values and views, and they were more than willing to go out and tell other people about me, which is what LeTip is all about. We want outside business. Without that, I can't meet those people on my own. I would probably rarely have the chance. But by getting them to sell me to other blueprints and knowledge people especially, now they come in, they want to do business with me. It's very interesting. Can you imagine if every salesperson out there or every business could crack the code of their clients before they sat down and tried to sell them something, how much more they would sell?
Well, actually, I've instituted this. It is phenomenal, and it does actually work. And I have the same code that you do: an action, nurturer, blueprint, and knowledge. And it's really interesting because I did go out there, and after you had that seminar, I went out to some of my clients, and I really recognized, and a lot can be tied into the type of role that they have too. That's a good indicator for you to start with. But when you recognize what they are and adjust how you speak to them, it makes it so much easier. If it's a cold lead, if it's a warm lead, that leap is even larger. And if it's someone who you've known for a long time, which is just a hot lead, then you already know who you're talking to. They already have that confidence. But when you're in the process of building trust, if you start speaking in the language that they understand, there's a comfortability, immediate comfortability. And this lends to that. So that's why I wanted you to speak about this, because it's such a brilliant concept and very executable. There's actually pocket cards where you could just kind of take a look at the characteristics of each of the types and sum somebody up as you're going to a meeting. You're like, oh, okay, I know these things about them. So they're probably more likely a blueprint than they are a knowledge. And I find it very helpful. And obviously you've instituted it.
Well, I brought it to LeTip because I felt it was something really important to gain that extra business. But I will tell you, it's the only 90-second assessment out there for your personality on how you buy. There are a lot of personality assessments out there. People say, well, is it like Briggs-Myers? Is it like so-and-so? They're all very similar, but this is so different because it's really how a person buys, what gets them interested in purchasing or selling you to someone else. that's what I found so fascinating about it. I even have artificial intelligence now. I'm talking to someone, or let's say that I'm sending an email out to all of my members, over 5,000 of them. I want to make sure that I'm reaching all 4 colors at the same time. I run it through artificial intelligence. In 60 seconds or less, it identifies exactly how I've done it. It's usually either all high action or high nurture, so I have to go back and rewrite it to add in the blueprint and the knowledge. But how incredible is that, to be able to take somebody's writing, run it through artificial intelligence, and know immediately how they're thinking, at least from that particular piece that they wrote.
Yeah.
So I find it just fascinating. And the first 2 colors that you are your predominant colors, what you aspire to or go to on a daily basis. However, we're all 4 colors in any given day. Depending on what's happening and what's going on, you will react in a certain way. Your 3rd color, like me, is blueprint. So when we're stressed, at least in my world, everything is put in place, everything is put away. I can find it immediately. Otherwise, as an action person, I'm a stacker. Everything's everywhere. I know where it is, so don't touch my stack. But I know where it is. But when I'm stressed, it's immediately filed and put away. So it's amazing how you can figure out people's mindset and how comfortable they can be with you when you know a little bit about them, talking to them.
That is so dead dog on for me too.
I'm learning how to do it with body language now. It's really incredibly easy to understand the body language if you understand the program first.
Yeah. I've been reading body language for a long time, but you have to be in the same room to be able to do that. And and obviously in the chapter meetings, you are in the same room, so it's nice to watch that from across the room, especially when you have a large chapter like ours. The smaller, more intimate chapters, it's a little easier to kind of get the placement on it. But when somebody's sitting all the way across the diner from you, body language is actually very helpful to see if you're capturing the audience that you're speaking to or losing them. So
right.
It's fun to do that. Putting this aside for a second, because I want to circle back to how someone could get more information about LeTip International and the local chapters of LeTip. You have a really incredible story of how you became CEO and owner of LeTip, and I would love you to share that with our listeners.
Well, I'm not sure that they'd really be interested, but I will tell you that I was married for 30 years. And at that time, I was a banker of 30 years. I'd been in banking early 70s, and I loved it. I was a business development officer. I never had to sit in my chair. I was always out growing. My bank paid me when I finally joined LeTip, the last 2 years as a banker, they paid me 2% of everything I brought in. So that was exciting for me. And then I suddenly found myself being divorced, so I had to reinvent myself. I was notified 6 months before I found out I was being divorced by the company, and they wanted to hire me. I said, no, I'm happy here. I'm, established in California. I love it here. I'll never leave. And then with this divorce, I fell apart. I actually thought I was going to die. I didn't want to be divorced. I was still in love with my husband. I thought it was a marriage made in heaven. We'd been high school sweethearts, or I was in high school when he was in college when we met. Unfortunately, for certain reasons, he had valley fever, meningitis form, left him with short-term, long-term memory issues, and most of the time he couldn't remember me. So he asked for a divorce, and I said yes. And at the same time, I told this company, Ken Pederson, who was the only owner at that time, has never been another owner besides me and him, yes. But I interviewed him when he met with me. And I have to tell you, Lori Anne, it was the most weird feeling. I'd been with a corporate company for a long time. I started with Bank of America, worked for them for 18 years, and then went into independent banking. So I was very familiar with corporate business. And I took this flight to San Diego to be interviewed by Pederson to see if I was interested. But before that even happened, he had invited me through his office manager several times to come, and it was always on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday during the middle of the week, and I wouldn't go. I have integrity. I had a job. I didn't need to tell my boss I was going to visit for another job. Well, Ken Pederson died on the golf course, and right then they had introduced defibrillators, and the little caddy ran out and defibrillated him back to life. and he said he had an epiphany. He called me and he said, I understand that we've invited you to come out and interview. Why won't you take the job or take the interview? And I told him, because I can only come on the weekends. I'm not going to do that to my boss. He overnighted me a ticket for that same Sunday. I jumped on a plane. I went out to meet him in San Diego. He left me for 2 hours in the airport. And I don't know if you've ever flown into only 2 terminals.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, he really didn't want to meet me. And then I thought, maybe I should page him. I did. He's a little hard of hearing. He was at the other terminal. He picked me up. 45 minutes later, he offered me a job. And I told him, under 2 circumstances would I consider taking the job. And he says, you're giving me ultimatums? I said, if you want me to work for you, what are they? Well, the first off is that I want to be your company president. Why don't you hire me now? Because he didn't have one. Unbeknownst to me, I was being hired in June, and his new company president had been hired and was coming in August. So I said, okay, I understand, but I want to be your president, and in 5 years I will be, and then I'm going to own your company. And he laughed at me, a hearty laugh. I think he thought it was hysterically funny. But he agreed, and I took the job. 4.5, and he relocated me, by the way, from California to Arizona, and I fell in love with the state. I love it here. So 4.5 years later, I became, after being an employee, I was asked to come to the corporate office as vice president in August of 2004. In December of 2004, he announced to the world, without any contract, without talking to me about it, that I had become the company president. By the way, there was no raise, no anything else in there, but I would have to move from Arizona to California. What he didn't know is that April, I'd married my husband, and we had 2 kids. We have 5 kids between us, and we had 2 kids still at home in high school. So I took the job and moved to San Diego permanently for 3 years while he lived at home here in Arizona with our last 2 children. I'd fly home on Friday nights and see him. He worked Saturdays, so I'd see him one day on Sunday and fly back to work on Monday morning.
Oh, my.
We did that for 3 years. He's a saint.
Clearly.
But he held it together, and I did too. And in 2008, I told the owner, this is not working for me. You either need to sell it to me or I need to go find another job. So he'd tried to sell it before. 17 other people in front of me didn't make it, and I did. So we worked out the deal, and I didn't have any money. I was a housewife. So I leveraged my home. I put the down payment down, and he carried all the papers. And the rest is history. I own the company outright. I owe him just a little teeny bit more, but it's kind of like his retirement every month. And he was guaranteed income, so I was a golden goose, and it's been a match made in heaven ever since.
And how long has it been?
In 2008, I purchased the company and moved it back to Arizona. So from 2008 until now.
Wow.
And I love it. I've loved every minute of every day.
That's a great story. I think it's very interesting. I know my listeners will think it's interesting because it's all along the alignment of what we speak about going after your passion and setting up boundaries and seeing something that you want and having determination. And that's something that since the day I spoke to you, you have this just unbridled determination, and you really want to help other people lift themselves up and prosper and connect people together. And you're so wonderful of it. The motivation, the integrity behind it. You layer all those corporate tools that you put together through your career into this networking. I don't know what it used to look like, but I know what it looks like today. And the experience is just superb, absolutely superb. I mean, I recommend it to everyone and anyone who wants to make more money in their business. Thank you so much. That's important to me because that is the goal. I started in my life to be a doctor. And during my internship or residency, not even residency, it was a special program, but during that time frame, in the third quarter, I put 17-year-olds in body bags, and I just couldn't handle it. So I changed to the law. I tried 2 years of contract law. I didn't like that either. And I finally ended up with business administration. Putting people together is my forte. And when I can see the light bulb go on, I can see that they understand and they're
learning collectively, it's just the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my life.
It is, and that's what I love too. It's so funny. I can't tell you how much our lives are in alignment, Kim Marie, because although I never had an intention to be a doctor, because, that nauseous thing is not good when you're a doctor, but I was a candy striper years ago and then decided and determined I didn't want to go in that direction. I did go into law, and I ended up with a business administration and economics degree myself. Putting people together is just what sends me, and obviously I'm a mentor for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and wantrepreneurs. So we have a lot of simpatico in what we do.
That's cool.
It really is.
Without having each other, we don't survive. When they say that it takes a tribe to raise a family, it really does. If you think about it, in the old days, my grandparents' time, we all lived in the same community, very close. If I did something wrong, an aunt would swat me on the rear end. My grandmother would sit me down and have a talk with me. Today, we have a fractured family. We move all across the country. None of my kids live here except one out of 5. So if I want to see grandchildren or talk to my children, it's FaceTime, but I don't get to see them on a regular basis to help them understand how to be good people or different people or better people. So it takes all of us. It's the same in business. I'm a business owner, but I don't know everything about business. I learn so much from my members, and then I try to turn around and share that with my members. Because if small business goes away in this country, our country changes forever, and it will never be the same.
I totally agree. And I'd love to pick up with this after this small break. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Anne. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas on what you'd like to hear more about, please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com and follow us on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. We love hearing from you. I say it every week, but we really do. And we answer every email and post personally. And we will soon be streaming live on Facebook while we do our shows. Today, we're having a lively conversation with Kim Marie Branch-Pettid, CEO and owner of LeTip International. And Kim Marie, thank you and welcome back. We were having a conversation about family members and how we influence them to be good humans, as I put it, and how the tribe really does exist. It's just, it looks different these days. We just left off talking about how you get information from the membership and then you share it with the entire LeTip family across the nation. And I love that you do that. It has helped many people that I know in their businesses, in my business. So why don't we just pick up where we left off about how you go about sharing with the membership?
Absolutely. I have been asked to go back to doing a quarterly letter from myself to all of my members. That's how we used to do it. Today, I do it in a bi-monthly newsletter. I write blogs on the things that I've been learning. A lot of our members don't even know about it, even though we tout it all the time, but it is a way to connect. I also connect by texting people. I connect by emailing. I pick up the phone and call. People are so surprised when I call them or if they call in and I answer my own phone. I have an assistant. I have a staff, but it isn't about that. It's about me being able to connect with them and sharing things. It's important to share. When I started out, I was just a housewife who had been a banker. I wasn't positive on how to do cash flow. I didn't know what the bottom line should look like. I didn't know a general ledger from a finance page. There are so many things that I've learned from members through the years, not only when I was a member, but now as the owner. It's important when you start out in business, if you don't know where to go, what do? Usually you have to pay lots of money to go to experts, and you don't have the money to start. That's the value, besides being your sales force, are all of the people in the group. Now, eventually you probably end up using them, like I did with the CPA. I have a LeTip member who is my CPA and the company's CPA. They had to earn that privilege, but they proved that they could do the work and the job, and I learned from them what I needed to do, what it looked like, and how to put it together. So many small businesses just think that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to go out and start a business, and then what? So it really gives that connection. What's more important is every member that we have is connected to every member in the organization. We had a first call today. It's talk with the CEO, ask any questions you want. So we had people come on and ask us about our power events that you mentioned earlier, ask us about the pricing that we just went through. They asked about training. So it was a really open discussion on anything, no holds barred. Somebody asked about the power events and the cost and why so expensive, and we went into exactly how it connects everyone, how it allows guests to see what you do so that guests want to join your group. You mentioned earlier you had to be invited. Well, you can be invited, but you can be invited by me or the organization, and then we put you with someone in the chapter who can actually bring you to a local meeting. With power events, we did the one in Atlantic City last year. We're going to do 9 this year across the country.
Yeah, that was outstanding.
The public is invited. So it's really exciting. And when you can go to those kind of meetings, we have breakout classes in Atlantic City. As you know, you mentioned that I taught bank there. This is where you can come and learn about things for your business that you couldn't normally get anyplace else unless you're paying for it. A CPA and a business law attorney, different things that are going on, and local members are teaching. So that, like yourself, you're great at what you do. You did present, did you not?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I didn't get to see your class.
I was working on 30-second commercial and breaking barriers.
So how important is that when our local experts can come in and share with other business members, whether they're members of our chapter or guests? That's huge advantage, huge. And that builds the tribe or the family that we're talking about, because now we know we can turn to each other, we can call on each other. Some will say yes and give you information. Some will say, no, that's not quite for me, or you have to pay me. And that's completely all right with us. But they're now connected with every other business member in our organization. To me, that's huge. All we need to do now is triple the size that we are.
Yeah, without
so that we can help more people.
Without a doubt. And I agree that, you're in your wheelhouse. You can't be expected, nor does anybody think or expect that you're going to know how to do everything. So I do use a CPA who happens to be out of our chapter, Soranto. He's outstanding, and I recommend him to everybody. And in the recommendation, I can actually say I use him myself. Lori Anne, do you trust him? I use him myself. Yes, I trust him that much. And everybody helps everybody. It's very rare that they'll sit there and require someone to, pay them if they're just sharing advice. And at all the meetings, you have an opportunity to practice your 30-second commercial. You have an opportunity to speak to members and say, hey, what'd you do about this? And how did this work out? So it's really a networking mastermind as I look at it. And we get to help each other. And that's exciting. And it also becomes a family. The members of my chapter are like family members. And when there's a call out, one needs help or someone's going through something, everybody in the chapter jumps on board. And I've seen that from chapter to chapter to chapter. And sometimes some of our chapters call on to the other chapters to help out, and everybody is right there. So you're also creating that tribe, Kim Marie, through this system that you've put into place, and this program that you've put into place. And also, which is, as a mentor, a favorite of mine, there's a lot of accountability. And I love that level, that there's accountability to other members by an expectation, a standard expectation that everyone has to participate, provide tips to each other, make recommendations for other people in the chapter. So I love that accountability element.
And it's so important to have that. That's one thing that differentiates us from other networking organizations. I know of several you can go in, you just belong. They don't care if you attend or not attend. They don't care if you tip or not tip. I don't have time to waste myself socially. I might go in to want to meet people to encourage them to come to LeTip because of that reason. But personally, through the years, I've not had time to do that. I needed to make it work for me, and I needed to make sure that it was returning ROI, return on investment for my time spent. So there are so many things that are so important. I had a thought process, and now I've totally forgotten it, but the power events, again, are a way for the community, the public, to come in and see what we're all about. So we want them to look at our website. We want them to feel free to come to anything that we have. And hopefully this year we're going to have sponsors, both local and national sponsors, to help reduce the cost of people attending so that we can get in front of more people to show them what they can do for themselves in business.
Now, we've used a couple of different terms, and I want to help differentiate that. The difference between LeTip chapters, LeTip International, and LeTip Wired. What are the differences between those? Would you help our listeners
LeTip
understand?
International, Inc. is the mothership. We are the ones that have articles of incorporation. It's our business, our model, our process. It's all protected. IP, intellectual property, is all protected through LeTip International. LeTip Wired is a members-only website that's created and run by LeTip International for each chapter. So instead of each chapter having to go out and have their own website and be able to email and pass tips back and forth, we have one central one that everybody can use, and nobody has to pay for it. It's all part of your membership. Now, a chapter is an independent association of LeTip International. Each one has its own tax ID number, is responsible for their taxes, which shouldn't have any taxes if they're doing it right, but they own their own chapter. Each person pays a small fee to be part of that chapter, and that's your home base. You can, if you have an unusual category, you can go from chapter to chapter to visit, but if you're a residential realtor, every chapter has one, so you have to stay within your wheelhouse of your own specific chapter.
Yeah,
so
and
a chapter is an association
right.
of the mothership organization.
Perfect. And at least in our chapter, and I'm not sure if this is like this across the country, maybe you can enlighten me on this, Kim Marie, but I know in our chapter we have an average valuation of the seat meaning that particular category. There's only one person in each category, and our average is $60,000 for a seat, meaning that you will get $60,000 at least in your seat if you do the right things, and by having that chair. And it's really difficult to get people out of their seats, because once you start making those connections and having those relationships, you want to really retain those seats. So it's a great organization. What a great concept.
Thanks. I wish I'd come up with it, but I was blessed enough to work for those 3 years right next to the CEO who owned it then, and learned from the best. He had two regional directors at the time, one from Pennsylvania, one from New Jersey, whom I soaked up the information like a sponge. Whenever we were together for corporate events, they'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to walk. Now, I'm not a really early bird that early. I get up by 6 or 7, but 4 o'clock something else. I would get up every time and walk with them to learn from them, learn from the owner. What did you start it for? How can it help? I could see such a bigger picture of this being so much more important to people. You know, people want to be recognized. People want to know that they're doing the right things. People feel good when they can help other people.
Absolutely.
So LeTip just does all of that for people.
And that's why it resonates with me, because you'll hear on the show all the time, I know our listeners do, about lifting each other up. We're here to serve one another and learn some lessons in the process, but serving others is why we're here. And this organization allows us to do that naturally, be accountable for it. And when you do, it feels so good when you're helping other members in the chapters, whether it's our chapter or another chapter. It feels so amazing. And I know that you're the owner of this organization now. I'm going to throw out there that I'm going to do what you did years ago with Ken and say to you, when you're ready to sell, come talk to me first, because this is right up my alley and I'm loving it, and love how you train the board so that they make sure that everybody's held accountable in a nice, kind way, and that you really lift all the memberships up and allow people like myself to help other LeTip members and help mentor them and share tools and marketing and business tools to help them soar in their business. Because the more business they get and the bigger they get, the bigger our chapters get and the bigger the company develops. And it's just such a wonderful community to be part of. Although I don't like getting up early in the morning, because I have to get up at 5 a.m. to go to my meeting for 7 7 o'clock. But once I get there, it's so worth it. And I miss my friends and I miss my business colleagues when I'm not in attendance, which is very, very rare. We actually have one of the LeTip members who has yet to miss. She has never missed a meeting since she's been a member. So she's fabulous. I call her Bella, but Carmela Abella. She is an interior designer. She has never missed a meeting.
Wow. Somebody needs to tell us that in corporate office so we can promote her and communicate.
Oh, yes. I think she's actually been in there before for that. And I think you honored her last year for just that, like perfect attendance. So she's a dynamic individual. So many of our members in Port Jeff and the different chapters are so dynamic and wonderful. You just have to come and join us. Come down to a meeting. And when you come in, you'll feel it. You'll see it. You'll want to be part of it. And it'll be one of the best decisions you make.
You know, I have been to your chapter meeting at least twice in the last few years, and I will be doing all of board training myself this year.
Oh, that's outstanding.
So I'm going to be there in person.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll introduce you to Bella because she's outstanding. But again, so many of the members are, and just very blessed. So in the last few minutes, and I'm so grateful and thankful, Kim Marie, that you've taken time out of your incredibly busy schedule to be on the show and talk to our listeners. But in the last few minutes, if you can, which you can right now, tell our listeners anything, give them a piece of advice, what would that be?
To join LeTip. If you're a business owner, if you know someone who's in business and needs to grow, they need to be part of LeTip. The greatest thing that we've done, and it's taken me 8 years to do it, is roll out our new website for members only. You are connected to everyone. And I'm so excited, Lori Anne, because as soon as we have people with enough people with their pictures, their profile, and a video on the website, we're going to roll this out to the public. Everybody needs more business. So do you go to Angie's List? When I did, it didn't tell me how great the person was. It had a ranking, but then I found out it was because they paid them more money to be on the top. Every LeTip member, when they join, are vetted. Excuse me. We inspect them. We make sure that they have all the credentials that they need, that they say they have, that they're licensed and it's current. We make sure that they're the right people to come in. And if they aren't and they get in anyway, we have ways to dismiss them if they aren't representing our values. We use 6 core values within the organization. And what's really, really important is that outside business. So can you imagine, none of our members will have to pay to be part of this. They'll all be promoted to the outside, and the outside world will want to use the experts that we have because they're valued and vetted, because they know that they can trust them and count on them. We're going to be able to turn the world on its nose by doing this in networking. It's never been done before, and we've prepared it, and we have it ready to go. I'm so excited.
Oh, and so you should be. And LeTip Wired is an unbelievable tool. It really is. I know when you rolled it out last year, it's breathtaking, and it is such a functioning tool, and it's very intuitive. So I know that our chapter has really maximized that tool as much as possible, and many of the surrounding ones. And one of the questions that I ask all of my guests, and I neglected to ask you, Kim Marie, is what's your why?
My love of people. I want to help as many people as I can. My time on earth is limited, like each of us. And when I go to the pearly gates, it has to be for the right reason. What did I do? What did I give back? Am I worthy of being here? That's my why. It's not for the money. It's not for my family, even though they're very important to me. Don't get me wrong. My why is ultimately for me. When my day is done, am I good enough to go to heaven? Every day.
I think by just major assessment of this conversation alone, you are. So I think everybody's valued and good. But one other thing I'd like to kind of point out, you're a sports enthusiast, aren't you?
I am. Yeah. My husband and I have season's tickets to the Suns, and we're finally having a decent year.
There you go. And a little birdie told me that you swam, you're a swimmer, and you swam 8 years with the Mark Spitz.
Well, 8 years with him, but 30 years of swimming.
Wow.
I always wanted to be an Olympian, just couldn't get to that point. but I'm disciplined. So when you swim 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's not much else you can do, right?
Yes.
But that discipline is part of what has made me a good business person, I feel, because you have to be disciplined to get up and go, whether you want to or not, whether it's a good time of day or not. You have to get things done. You have to be organized, or it doesn't work. So if you're like me as an A personality, an action personality, I'm running around with my head off, but my assistant, who is great for me, keeps me in track. This is what's next. Here's what's coming. So she's the organizer, and I'm the executor. If you aren't both in one, get an organizer for yourself, have somebody help you with it, and then execute, because it works every time.
Unbelievable. Every time I speak to you, I find another layer and peel that layer back of this. You're a very complicated woman, and I love every minute of it. So as a mother of 5, a grandmother of 6, I would say that you're probably running around crazy. And CEO and owner of LeTip International, thank you so much for being on with us today. I really, really appreciate it.
Lori Anne, thank you for all you're doing for the community. Without people like you and sharing, they really don't have a chance or an opportunity to learn. My hat's off to you. My respect is high, and I really appreciate the fact that you asked me on today. It's been a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was so kind. And thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle. My heart is lifted by sharing this time with you. I want to thank my guest, Kim Marie Branch-Pettid, CEO and owner of LeTip International. Please visit them online. You will send us emails and texts. I'll be more than happy to share information and get you into a local LeTip meeting. In the meantime, follow us on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. As I always say, we are here to serve one another. So please take a moment, step out of your day, do a little bit for someone else, just a little something. Could just be a smile or opening a door, but just do a little something. And remember, do a little something for yourself every day. It doesn't have to be big, but take a moment, create a habit. It takes 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to build a lifestyle. Start with one new habit a week, and you're going to see your life just get better and better. So thank you again for joining us on Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Anne Casdia. Until next time, play a higher role, serve a higher purpose, show up for you, and show up big.